All right, hello, wine drinking people. We are back. It's Wednesday, February 23rd, and it's time for what I drank yesterday. And we just promoted our Mouton Rothschild event and made Luc Bouchard in yesterday. I didn't plan it this way that we're going to be promoting Burgundy right after Bordeaux, but hey, these are two of the greatest appellations in the world of wine. I always tell people if you want to collect wines, you should go no further than the blue chips of France, Burgundy and Bordeaux. And Luc Bouchard was in the store yesterday, and I pointed out to him the first trophy bottle, empty bottle, that I ever put on the shelf here was a bottle of 1949 Bone Grabs, the baby Jesus wine that we had at the Great Wine Seminar the first time I met Luc, and that wine was fantastic. It is absolutely unbelievable how well great wines, great vintage wines from Burgundy age, and it's deceptive because of how light Pinot Noir can be, but the acidity is really one of the most important things in aging wine. And a great vintage in Burgundy, you don't get wines with much higher acidity. So very long-lived, especially in great vintages. The subject of the day, 2009 vintage Burgundies from Bouchard Pere Fils. There's a couple wines that bear the Bouchard name. Well, the Bouchard family, Bouchard Pere and Fils being the first, the original. Back in the 18th century, this estate was founded. Its history goes back very far, and its cellars in Beaune also some very old wines in them. But they're being emptied out just like most of these great properties in France are today, as the Chinese have caught on to Burgundy in addition to Bordeaux. And the classics still in very high demand today, as you can see with the price on these 2009 vintage wines. And if you love Burgundy, you want to own some of these 2009s. The reds being a little better than the whites, but I think the whites still very good. Just surprising how well these reds are showing at their young stage in their life. Usually great vintages of Burgundy do not have this immediate peel that this 2009 vintage does. And we started out with the reds. You can taste either way in Burgundy, man. You can start with the whites or the reds. The whites help to refresh your palate after you've had the reds. In a vintage like 09, I would definitely start with the reds because they are so appealing. And we had this Monthelie, Les Duresses, and this is just a village wine. I'm sorry, no, this is a Premier Cru vineyard. And this is Monthelie is one of these areas that you do not see very often in this country. This is something we would have to pre-order for you if you wanted it. Not many people familiar with this appellation, but this wine had some lovely bright red cherry fruit, a good hand of fresh flowers, exotic spices. No pumping over in this vintage, and they don't make wine with a recipe at Bouchard. It depends on the vintage, what they're going to do with this. In some vintages, they might pump over it. In 2009, they just decided they did not. They have 3 different parcels in Monthelie, and this one can be a bit rustic, and the 2009 was a little bit cooler in the southwest part of Volnay. Wonderful freshness in this wine due to the coolness and a lovely rustic nature to this Clément as well. All right, next up we had the Beaune Clos de la Mousse, one of the more famous wines from Bouchard, a Premier Cru in Beaune. Very nicely balanced wine. Old vines, 50 years old here. Very forward and seductive bouquet of ripe cherry pie-like fruit. Lovely, pretty fresh flowers here on the nose with some gravelly, minerally notes. One of the things that I get from wines from Beaune. They can be very sturdy, very big. A nice amount of structure on this wine with a bit of tartness coming in here on the finish. Some lots of tannins, firm acidity. Really long, needs a little bit of time to come together, but a really nicely balanced wine here. Next up, the Volnay Caillerets, Ancient Cuvee Carnots, and the Clos de Chêne is a little bit, I'm sorry, this cru is a little bit higher. Caillerets, always harvested first. I'm sorry, Clos de Chêne is a little higher, Caillerets is lower. Therefore, it's always harvested first of the 3, and always the most showy, the reason why Luc brought it with him probably. Lovely spice and floral notes here with a lot of stone-like minerality qualities on the nose. Lovely silky smooth texture on the tongue with a nice hand of acidity freshening up things at the end. There's a really pretty finish here with this wine. Excellent quality. Next up, the Bone Grabs, the Baby Jesus wine. This is the wine I was mentioning before, and this is the best wine, one of the best wines that Bouchard makes. A Premier Cru that probably should be elevated to Grand Cru. There are no Grand Crus in the Beaune appellation, but the Infant Baby Jesus Bone Grabs wine, in a lot of people's opinion, a Grand Cru quality, especially in a vintage like 2009. This wine had a bit of a roasted character to the black raspberry and black cherry fruit. Still a bit reserve-like right now, but wonderful intensity and precision to this wine, and a lovely silky texture, textbook minerality for Bone Grabs, and a long finish. Again, this wine needs time, but has all the right pieces in place. And then the Nuits St. George L'Écaille Premier Cru, and Nuits St. George wines can tend to be very big. I think the Bone Graves was a little bigger than this one. I was a little confused as to why he was showing it after Bone Graves, but usually, traditionally, you would do that. Lovely black cherry fruit with kind of an incense spice to this wine, and a lovely smoky character to the bouquet. Some fresh floral notes here. Wonderful structure on the tongue with layers of tannin, spice, and a firm underbelly of acidity holding everything's in place nicely, really excellent. And then the Echezeaux, the big dog, our Grand Cru. And this is one of the largest appellations in the Côte de Nuit. You have Clos Vougeot and then Echezeaux next in terms of size. And this is from a piece that's a bit higher in the Grand Cru appellation. So it kind of depends where you're at on that cru as to how your wine is going to taste. And wonderful black raspberry exotic fruit here with Asian spices. Lovely complexity on the bouquet. 60% new oak, which they have reduced the amount of new oak that they use. They want the terroir of these wines to really show through. A lot of these Grand Cru wines use 100% new oak from producers like Loire, who we're going to be tasting next week here. But really lovely elegance and finesse, big and chewy on the palate, showing a little bit of that wood right now, but a long and complex finish there. Most excellent indeed. Okay, on to the whites. We had the Meursault Le Clou, and this wine had the same level of malic acid after malolactic fermentation. I don't know how that is, but that's how Luke kind of explained it yesterday. And long aging in barrels, no racking, just no stirring. Just really wanted to maintain the freshness of this wine in 2009. And again, the white's very good, maybe not as structured as the reds, but still showing some nice minerality in this wine, some nice spice on the finish. Next up, we had the Clos Saint Landry, which is a very famous vineyard for Bouchard, right next to Clos de Mouche. And this is also picked, this is bottled already to maintain its freshness. A lot of these wines still in barrel from 2009. Lovely white flower and honeysuckle character to this. Very pretty wine with lots of floral highlights and Asian pear fruit. Really nice concentration and depth of flavor to this, and a lovely chalky note and minerality to the finish there. Next up, the Meursault Genevièves. And this is located in the southeast area of Meursault, below the slope. A very consistent Premier Cru from Meursault, and a lovely thickness. Not really heavy, but really thick on the palate and viscous. Good minerality and precision, and nice spice and tropical fruit here to the palate, and a good hand of minerality and acidity holding everything together. Definitely a much bigger wine than that Le Clou, much longer, showing its pedigree here. Meursault, also an appellation that has no Grand Crus, but some pretty good Premier Cru, Genevièves being a lot of people's favorite. Next up, the big boy, the Corton Charlemagne. This is one of Bouchard's best white wines, if not the best white wine. This is 300 meters high and located in the southeast area of the Corton appellation, which is the largest Grand Cru in all of Burgundy, located in the Côte de Beaune. And it really makes a difference where you're located. And where Bouchard is located, you get a lot of minerality and lovely floral notes, some lemon drop candy, a little fresh buttered brioche, and fat and rich on the tongue with layers of ripe fruit, a lot of power. And this wine needs a lot of time. Just needs a little bit of time, but has all the right stuff. Most excellent. All right, well, that's what we had to drink from Bouchard Pere Fives. Up next, we got a few wines from the sorting table. All right, tough time getting that out.